This is Taonet training, and we're looking at productivity today. What is productivity? Productivity, first of all, is one of the most studied and sought after concepts in economics, business management, and personal development. It fundamentally dictates how much value is created from a given effort. Here is a detailed explanation covering the definitions, theories, measurements, psychological aspects, and key techniques related to productivity. What is the core concept and context of productivity? What is the definition of productivity? Productivity at its core is a measure of efficiency in a process, in a system, or in a person. The universal definition of productivity is the ratio of output to input. The outputs can be results, it can be goods, it can be services, and the inputs can be time, it can be resources, it can be labor, it can be capital. The key principle of productivity is to minimize the output for a fixed input, or minimize the input required for a particular fixed output. What is the difference between efficiency and effectiveness? There is a crucial distinction, even though a lot of times both words are used interchangeably. The two concepts, they are the true determinants of productivity, but what's their difference? Efficiency means doing things right. Effectiveness means doing the right things. Efficiency means minimizing wasted efforts and resources. That's what efficiency means. It means that you're able to minimize wasted efforts and resources. But effectiveness means achieving the desired outcome and the relevant goals. So efficiency is like the inputs and effectiveness is like the desired outcome. Now, what is true productivity? True productivity is the fusion of both efficiency and effectiveness, meaning true productivity is being efficient in carrying out tasks that are also effective in meeting high-value goals. For example, writing 10 perfect mails efficiently is useless if the required task was to complete the financial report. Now, what are the contexts of productivity? There are various contexts of productivity, but for this study, we'll be looking at three: the economic productivity, organizational productivity, and personal productivity. Productivity is measured differently across various scales. 1. The economic productivity. This is the measurement of productivity nationally. It focuses on national output, labor contribution, and capital utilization. For example, gross domestic products per hour. Then we have the organizational productivity, which measures productivity in an organization. It focuses on systems, structures, workflow, and team performance. It is measured by profit margin, yield per machine, or cost per unit. Basically, is measuring productivity within an organization, while economic productivity is measuring productivity in a nation, within a nation. Then the personal productivity brings it home to the individual person. It measures productivity individually. This is measured by the quantity and quality of high-value tasks completed daily. It focuses on time management. It focuses on energy utilization. It pays attention to the focus that you give a particular task per time. Right. Now we're looking at the measurement of personal productivity. What do we use to measure personal productivity? Measuring personal productivity goes beyond checklists. It requires tracking meaningful results. That means that we know that a person is productive by the output, by the results. Now, some of the challenge of personal productivity is the challenge of quality. For creative or knowledge work, time spent, which is the input, is easy to track, but output is subjective. Personal productivity must focus on value output, not just activity output. When you're measuring your personal productivity, you should bring it down to the value, that was created per time, not just activity, not just how many tasks you're able to lay your hands on, but which of those tasks are completed. A good metrics is I worked 6 focused hours and completed the launch proposal which impacts Q4 revenue. That is a more valuable outcome. But a poor metrics, which is like an activity output, is like I sat down for 10 hours and I answered 50 emails. Now, that 50 emails, what is it contributing? What is the overall output? And what does it contribute to the organization, to the overall goal and objective of the organization? This is how you can track personal productivity within the organization productivity. Then the second challenge we usually have in measurement of personal productivity is time tracking and auditing. A foundational step is understanding where time currently goes. For example, you can use things like time logging. You can use tools or manual logbook or login machines to track every block of time spent for a moment of time, maybe for a period of 1 to 3 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks, for a period of 1 week. You can also identify time sinks. You can pinpoint activities that consume high input per time but low output per value. So these are prime areas for elimination or delegation. If you want to be productive, look at the things that take up your time, but in the grand scheme of things do not contribute so much. Do not contribute, so much in the overall goal or objective or the overall outcome that we are trying to achieve. What are the activities that take a lot of time but does not contribute so much to the output, to the value, that does not give you a valuable output? Such activities you can delegate, you can outsource, you can pay somebody to do it, or you can eliminate and replace them with more productive outputs. Now, another measurement of personal productivity is key performance indicators, which is KPIs. What are KPIs? KPIs are key tools for tracking productivity, for tracking performance, in an organization or personally. For personal productivity, KPIs should align with strategic goals. For example, it should align with completion rates, which is, it should align with focus time ratio, it should align with cycle time. Completion rate is the percentage of high priority tasks successfully finished within the week. Focus time ratio is the percentage of the work day spent in uninterrupted deep work sessions, while cycle time is the average time it takes to move a major project from initiation to completion. Now we're looking at the psychology of productivity. Productivity is often less about time management and more about managing energy, attention, and motivation. Motivation and energy management. Productivity is highly dependent on psychological state and available energy. Now, We have different types of motivation and energy management. We have the intrinsic motivation, we have the extrinsic motivation, we have the chronotypes motivation. The intrinsic motivation is driven by internal satisfaction, enjoyment, or interest. This leads to higher quality and sustained productivity, especially for those that are in roles, that are in career paths that they enjoy what they do, they love what they do. The motivation is by passion. They find enjoyment and interest and satisfaction in what they do. They love the process, of what they do. They are internally motivated. Intrinsic motivation is motivation that comes from within. You don't stress to find a motivation to work, right? It's just inbuilt, is embedded. The extrinsic motivation is motivation that is driven by external rewards or pressures. Pressures for money, for example, pressure for deadline, pressure to belong, pressure for praise, things that are external. It's important to know what is it that is fueling your motivation. Is it an intrinsic motivation? Is it an extrinsic motivation? Extrinsic motivation is the one driven by external rewards or pressures like money, deadline, praise, etc. It is effective for short bursts, but is not sustainable. Most times it's not sustainable. Intrinsic motivation is most times sustainable than the extrinsic motivation. And then we have the chronotypes. The chronotypes involves understanding when your body and mind are naturally most alert, right? For example, we have people that we call owls, night owls. There are people that are very productive at night. When everywhere is quiet, everybody is asleep, they can do so much at night, and in the morning, they are not able to do so much. And we have people that are called larks. Those are people that are morning people. They burst at the most in the morning. At night, they are unable to do anything. So it's important to know the time when you are most productive so you can make the best use of it, and you can have better outputs, in terms of value. So understand when your body and mind are most alert, right? Also, we have what we call the flow state. The flow state is coined by a psychologist called Mihaly. He coined the word the flow state. So it is being in the zone. The flow state is also called a state of being in the zone. This state is essential for maximum productivity. Let's talk more about the flow state. The flow state is a state of deep immersion when one is fully involved and enjoying the process of an activity. The time perception is altered and the effort feels effortless. All right. What are the conditions for flow? Conditions for this flow state is 1. Clear goals. 2. Immediate feedback on progress. 3. A balance between the challenge of the task and the skills of the person is a sweet spot. If you see people that have found this flow state, people that are operating in this flow state, they are people that no matter the time you call them to give them a task, they always deliver, because they have come to find out that this is their strength. They don't drag, they don't slop. Their productivity is high. They are always excited when they do it. These are the people that have found their sweet spot. The flow state is also known as what? As the sweet spot, right? We're also looking at the concept of understanding and overcoming procrastination. So we're looking at understanding and overcoming procrastination. Productivity is constantly undermined by procrastination, which is not a sign of laziness, but is often a failure of emotional regulation. What is the problem of procrastination? The problem of procrastination, which is also task avoidance, the problem it has is that it is used to escape negative feelings associated with a task. It is used to escape negative feelings associated with boredom, with anxiety, with frustration. Now, the solution to procrastination is a 5-minute rule, which is commit to working on the dreaded task for just 5 minutes. Momentum often takes over, and and you're able to overcome the initial resistance. Okay, maybe there's a task you ought to do, but it has become overwhelming because you have piled it up for weeks. You are not just able to face that task. You have piled it up for weeks, and is now becoming like a challenge, because now if you want to start, you are not starting from the task of the day. You are going to start. You have had backlogs for weeks. Now the best thing to do to overcome procrastination is a 5-minute rule, which is just do that task for 5 minutes. When you start it, most of the time momentum takes over, and then you overcome the initial resistance, and you're able to continue and cover more than you should, definitely more than that 5 minutes. Right, now we have temptation bundling. Temptation bundling is linking a desired activity, which is like a treat or reward, with a less desired activity, right, that has high value. For example, now, temptation bundling is you paying yourself a wage or a salary or an interest, paying yourself with a treat, right, rewarding yourself, for completing certain tasks that you dread, certain tasks that you have procrastinated on. You tell yourself, if I complete this thing, I'm going to do this for myself. So because of the reward, you are able to face the task and complete it, so that you can then go out and have maybe a bowl of parfait. You can go out and treat yourself. You can go for spa treats. Whatever reward you want to give yourself, tie it to a task that you dread, a task that you've been trying to avoid for weeks, right? Link a desired activity, a treat or a reward, with a less desired activity that has high value. For example, I can only listen to podcasts while I clean out my inbox, etc. Now, let's also look at the concept of decision fatigue. What is decision fatigue? The more decisions one makes throughout the day, the lower the quality of subsequent decisions. High-performing individuals streamline minor choices to save cognitive resources for important work. What does that mean? You can delegate your low-performing tasks, to other people in the team, to people that you are training, so that you can have time to focus on the high performing tasks. Because if the more you make decisions in a day, the lesser the quality of decisions that you make. That means the first decision is like one of the best decisions you are making, and then it reduces all through the day. So for decisions that really don't carry so much influence, or that the reward or the output is not valuable, you can delegate that to other people in the team while you focus on the high, quality or high value tasks. Okay, so strategy of this for decision fatigue, ensure that you automate routine choices. For example, consistent work routine, automate them. If you have consistent work routine like wearing similar clothing, planning meal in advance, automate them. You can move the task of making meals to a day where you know delegate the task of getting the materials, the ingredients you need from the market, and make everything and store them, you know, such that they don't spoil. You store them, you can refrigerate them, put them in the freezer, and then you are done with it. Instead of the routine task of, going to the market every day to get them and then making them every day. So that might not be, on the long run, it might not be good for your productivity. That's just an example though. Now we're looking at key productivity frameworks and techniques. These systems provide structure for managing time, tasks, and attention. Key productivity frameworks and techniques. Number one, getting things done. It's called GTD by David Allen. Getting things done is an end-to-end system for capturing and processing every commitment, freeing the mind for execution. These are the 5 core steps of getting things done. Number one, capture. Record every idea, task, and commitment to an inbox. 2, clarify. Define what the task means. Meaning, is it actionable? If it's not, you can trash it or file it. 3, organize. Place the items into appropriate list. Next actions waiting for someday, maybe. 4th step is to reflect, review list weekly to maintain control and perspective. And the 5th one is engage, work on the next action based on context, time, energy, and priority. We'll still get to the important and urgent but not important, task evaluation. But let's just continue. Then the second technique that we're looking at today, we're looking at productivity frameworks and techniques. We have looked at getting things done. The getting things done technique is to capture, clarify, organize, reflect, and engage. You look at them by their order of importance. The ones that are important, you put them somewhere. The ones that are actionable, you put them somewhere. The ones that, are not for immediate plan, you put them somewhere. They are in perspective, but they are not for immediate plan. And the ones that need to be actioned immediately, you pour your energy, you engage them. Capture, clarify, organize, reflect, and engage. The second technique is the Pomodoro technique, which is a simple, powerful focus. A simple, powerful focus management tool developed by Francisco Cirillo. The getting things done technique is by David Allen, but this Pomodoro technique is by Francisco Cirillo. Now, this technique says, number one, this technique works like this. The first consideration is structure. The structure: work for 25 minutes with hyper focus. Technique for personal productivity. When you are working, when you resume, or when you start your day, or when you begin a task, the first thing to do is to work for a good 25 minutes with hyper focus, no distraction, no jesting, no laughter, no No standing up, no gisting, not just work, sit on your desk and for 25 minutes and work on a task. Then take a 5-minute short break, move around. After 4 pomodoros, which is so the 25 minutes is 1 pomodoro, right? So when you work for 25 minutes, take 5 minutes break. So by the time you have worked for 4 pomodoros, which is 25 minutes in 4 places, take 30 minutes long break. What does this help you do? It limits the input time and forces intense focus, preventing burnout by guaranteeing structured breaks. Another technique for productivity is the Eisenhower matrix, which is the important, urgent and important matrix. I love this matrix so much. I love it and I use it a lot. So when different tasks come to you, you might be responsible for so many things in the team. You're responsible for customers. Management is asking you for a report. You're responsible for maybe at home there are some tasks that you also need to prioritize. You are also like running a course. There's a task that has been given to you to prioritize. There's a customer in front of you. You have mails to attend to. There's a meeting that you need to facilitate by 12, and this is like 9 in the morning. You have so many of these tasks on your table and you are confused. You don't really know which one you should start with. This Eisenhower matrix, of the important and urgent matrix, is excellent for that. It's a prioritization framework that is used to categorize tasks into two basic criteria, which is the criteria of urgency and the criteria of importance. So the criteria, and these are the quadrant criteria and the actions. The first quadrant is urgent and important. That means that these tasks are timed and these tasks are tied, have a high level of importance. Sometimes, depending on the context, they can be tied to life. Okay, you might have, maybe you are a service-related organization. Let's take a medical institution, for example, and you have 6 patients that came in at the same time waiting for you, and one is an emergency. The patient cannot breathe, is having difficulty breathing, he cannot talk, he's bleeding. And you have other people that came in well and well, though they have some challenges, but they can move, they can talk, you can communicate with them. It's very obvious that the one that is important and urgent that you attend to at that time is the one that came in as an emergency, that is immobile, because that one, any little delay can distort the event of things, can change the event of things, right? So it's important that you know tasks that are important and urgent. If you have all those lots of tasks like I was mentioning earlier, you prioritize them. Which of these tasks are important? Which of these tasks are urgent? Which of these tasks are urgent but not important? Which of these tasks are important but not urgent? Which of these tasks are not important and not urgent? Those ones, you put them far, far, far behind. You can respond to them later. The first one you respond to is the ones that are important and urgent, the ones that have due dates, the ones that if you don't respond to now, there's a consequence immediately. It is important and is urgent. And the next task that you prioritize is the ones that are not urgent, but they are important. The next one that I prioritize is the one that are urgent, but they are not important, because you want to scale up, you want to give the importance a higher scale, right? And then The ones that are not urgent and not important, you put them somewhere. So for the ones that are urgent and important, those ones have crisis. Those ones, you do them immediately, because not doing them can lead to crisis, and their deadlines, they can have pressing deadlines. The ones that are not urgent but very important, but you have to do them, but they are not immediately, you can schedule another time for it. You can plan, you can prevent, you can you can deep work them, you can move them to later, but you will definitely work on them, and you will build on it, and you will ensure that it's completed. But it's just that you are not attending to it immediately, but you are still going to work on them. The ones that are urgent now, but they are not important, you delegate it, because the order of importance is not high. It means that it does not have reputational risk. There's no risk attached. You are not at loss, right? It is urgent, but it's not really important. So even if there are errors in doing it, it doesn't carry so much weight. So you can delegate it, and if someone makes errors on it, you can easily correct them and have them redo it again, right? Like writing mails, writing certain mails, setting up certain meetings. And then the ones that are not urgent and not important, eliminate them. They are time wasting activities. They make you busy. You are jumping everywhere, you are running everywhere, but it does not contribute to the overall goal of the organization. It does not contribute to your overall personal goal. Eliminate them. Don't fill your time with tasks that don't contribute to your overall goal and objective. So these are ways that you can be productive as a person. Now, we are also looking at so for this Eisenhower matrix, the high productivity is dominated by work in quadrant 2, which is not urgent but important. All right, we're looking at the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. This is another this is another key productivity framework and technique. We have looked at the getting things done, the GTD by David Allen, which is the capture, clarify, organize, reflect, engage. We have looked at the Pomodoro technique, by Francisco Cirillo, which is the 25 minutes work and 5 minutes break rule. And if you do work for the 4 Pomodoros, you can take a 30 minutes break. It helps you to be productive and efficient. We have looked at the Eisenhower matrix, which is the urgent and important matrix. We have also, now we are looking at the Pareto principle, which is the 80-20 rule. This Pareto principle is named after an economist, Vilfredo Pareto. The principle states that for many outcomes, roughly 80% of consequences come from 20% of the causes. So to apply this Pareto principle, identify the 20% of task, of client, of effort that yields 80% of your desired outcome, of revenue, of impact, of completion, and focus your energy exclusively on that vital 20%. It means that what this is saying is the productivity that you need is determined by a few cogent factors. So know what that few cogent factor is and focus your entire energy on it, and you will see that you would be better productive. So another productivity technique is time blocking or time boxing. So instead of a vague to-do list, time blocking involves dedicating specific chunks of time on the calendar for specific tasks. And we do that a lot. A lot of us have this time. A lot of us use these time blockers, as administrators. The benefit of time blockers is that it treats time as a finite inventory and forces an honest assessment of how much work can realistically be accomplished within a day. So, time blockers is important because you dedicate specific chunks of time on the calendar for specific time. For example, you are taking like 2 to 3 p.m. You are doing this 4 to 5 p.m. It treats time like an inventory, like a good, it treats time like an asset, and it forces an honest assessment of how much work can realistically be completed within a day. Now we're looking at productivity in the modern age, the challenges and the solution. Productivity in the modern age, challenges and solution. This is a digital era, we all know, and it has introduced unprecedented distractions that make deep, focused work increasingly difficult. You have social media, you have, artificial intelligence, you have a lot of things that um, calls for your attention. You want to see, you want to view things that you want to look at, you want to learn. And sometimes some of those things that you are looking at does not really contribute. They are not the 20% that contribute to your 80%. So they are taking so much of your time, but not giving you the results that you want. Now, we're looking at deep work versus shallow work. Productivity in this modern age, the challenges and solutions. We're looking at deep work versus shallow work. This is coined by Arthur Carl Newport, and this distinction is critical for modern knowledge workers. So for deep works are professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that pushes cognitive capabilities to their limit. This work creates value, it improves skills, and is hard to replicate. Is a source of high productivity. Shallow work is a non-cognitively demanding logical tasks often performed while distracted. This work does not create much value. For example, sending routine mails, scheduling, status updates, etc. They are shallow work. They are activities, but they don't really produce results. They are not high value activities. They are not activities that yield results. They are not activities that have that improve skills, that are hard to replicate. No. All right. For also the productivity in the modern age, aside deep work versus shallow work, we are looking at the myth of multitasking. The human brain cannot truly process two complex tasks simultaneously. What is called multitasking is actually rapid context switching. It means that the human brain cannot actively do two tasks at the same time. It's either you are doing one actively and you're doing one passively, or you are doing the other one actively and you're doing the first one passively. But what it does is that it can easily switch. You can switch rapidly, switches and come back, right? You can easily move from one task. As you're doing one task, like in project management, as you're doing one task, it connects to another task. The middle of one task can be the beginning of another task and can be the ending of another task. So ability to switch rapidly from one task to the other to quickly attend to them while you go back to the one you were previously doing is what we call multitasking, which is actually a myth. Is the real definition ought to be rapid context switching. The cost of rapid context switching is that each switch requires a switch cost, which is where the brain must reestablish focus on the original task, leading to reduced efficiency in the first task, right? Increased errors and higher mental fatigue. So if you are multitasking, you should know the cost, and one of the costs is that it reduces your efficiency. There are things that should be done quickly that will take time, like the first task will suffer because you are attending to 2, 3, 4, 5 other tasks, right? It looks like you are switching, but there is actually something that is suffering, right? So those are the challenges of productivity in the modern age. We have talked about deep work and shallow work, which is high value work and low value work. And then we talked about the myth of multitasking and the challenges. Now we're looking at digital distractions and boundary setting. The constant connectivity demanded by tools like email and Slack is the number one killer of productivity. Now, what are the strategies that you can use to overcome this? One strategy can be batching. You can batch responsibilities. For instance, you can batch mail or messages. You can batch email sending, messages sending only at a particular time. Maybe you send them by 10 a.m. or by 2 p.m. or by 4 p.m. So if you have a lot of people in front of you as a customer service person that you are attending to, you can batch your billing. Maybe your end of day billing, your end of day addition, calculation. You can batch it to when you are about to close for the day, so you can attend to the people before you, because you can't be calculating, and be printing out bills. You can't be printing out bills and be calculating how much, the total when there's a customer in front of you, except you are, trying to multitask, which we call rapid context switching. And you know that the result of that is that it's going to delay the time that you used to attend to the customer that is standing before you. You delay it by some minutes. So you can just have a time that you say, okay, I'm going to assign this task. I'm going to do this task later. So let me just attend to things that are important and urgent right now, which are the people before me. One of the sweet hallmark of customer service is that there is no delay time. The customer before you is priority. The ones you're attending to on the phone are priority. So you need to attend to them, and then you can do some of your administrative tasks later. So another strategy is this digital isolation, which is using tools of physical isolation to disconnect from the network during deep work sessions. All right. So when you are truly doing high value work, you need to disconnect from the internet, maybe, or if it's not what you are using to be productive, you need to disconnect yourself from that distraction, so that during your deep work session you can be productive, and then you can do what is called scheduled boredom. Allowing the mind to wander with no phones, no screen during breaks can activate the default mode network, which is crucial for creativity and problem solving. When you are maybe your 5 minutes of break, don't go pressing your phone, so that you don't get addicted to it and it's difficult to come back to deep productivity. You can just stay without doing anything. Before you know it, your mind is thinking. Before you know it, you are back to being productive again. And then you can also use burnout as a rest and a productive tool. Sustained high productivity requires recovery. When you are highly productive, to sustain that high productivity, you require what? Recovery. Sustained high productivity requires recovery. But when you are pushing endlessly, that means you are pushing endlessly, you are doing you are deep diving back to back. What does it lead to? Without giving yourself that 5 minutes break, that 30 minutes break after 25 consecutive minutes in 4 places of productivity. If you are not giving yourself those rest, 5 minutes break, if you push endlessly and you stay 30 minutes, you stay 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, what it does is that it leads endlessly to diminishing returns and ultimately to burnout. Have you seen people that you are discussing with them and the response they give is exaggerated? When I mean exaggerated, like the response is too intense for the question. They are tired, they are burnt out, they are not giving themselves that break and that rest during work hours. They are not doing the 25 minutes and 5 minutes rule. They are not prioritizing. They are always deep diving. They are always busy, no rest. So it will lead to burnout. Rest is what? Is input. Rest is what? Rest is input. View sleep, breaks, vacations, and exercise as necessary input that allows for quality output. Highly productive people prioritize high quality sleep and physical health. I hope we've learned something today.